Good afternoon to everyone, and of course, I'm not one of the finalists here, but I'm here to present to you a best practice model in the Philippines, specifically on accelerating inclusive digital finance. Okay. So I just would like to share with you this latest study that was conducted by Brookings International, saying that Philippines is among the first in Asia when it comes to financial inclusion. So we're 7th among the 26 countries surveyed. Of course, the top 6 would include Kenya, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, and South Africa. So the good thing with the Philippines is that we have an enabling regulation that is actually championing inclusive growth or inclusive digital finance. In fact, we have been championing what we call the National Strategy for Financial Inclusion by no less than the governor of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, or our monetary board. Now, just to share with you, the criteria of that particular study focuses on country commitment, mobile capacity, regulatory environment, and adoption of traditional, or specifically customer adoption. But while we have been successful in almost 3 out of 4, the adoption or customer adoption is the one lacking, or around 42% in terms of percentage. Okay. So what is now the issue? The issue now is more on customer adoption. That's why one of the things that we've been trying to do is on how to accelerate adoption by the consumers. Now, our aim that was actually made public last year was to enable 30 million Filipinos to be financially included. In fact, 69% of our population remain unbanked and underserved. So what we are trying to do now is that 30 million of them would be financially included by year 2020. Now, one of the aims as well is to digitalize all financial transactions from the current 1% to a minimum of 20% by year 2020. It's a bold move, it's very ambitious, yet it is doable, right? So it is, in our case, the thing that we've been trying to do in partnership with key stakeholders in the Philippines, particularly the regulators, the private sector, and the NGO sectors as well. Now, we've been successful in 2017 by way of accelerating our collaboration with a lot of financial institutions, both bank and non-bank, in this particular ecosystem. What we have been done so far is that almost 100 bank and non-bank partners have already signed up with us for us to be able to provide them with digital lending platform. Okay. Okay, just to share with you, from the past 3 years that we have actually launched the digital lending platform in the Philippines, we have so far disbursed over $520 million US, and our CAGR is around 61%. Okay, so the thing here is that we have gotten some traction. In fact, by the next couple of years, we are targeting almost 15% market share of the overall digital lending platform, or the actual loan throughput in the entire Philippines. And one good thing as well is the fact that the Philippines, in our case, for the Philippines, the digital lending platform that we have actually introduced 3 years ago is the first of its kind in the country, and has actually been has the most extensive digital footprint, covering entire 100% of the provinces, 91% of cities, and 23% of all municipalities. In fact, we have actually launched the ASEAN's first digital agri-lending platform in the Philippines, with one of the biggest agricultural lending banks in the country, which is called Producers Bank, and with Land Bank of the Philippines. And now we will be covering the entire Philippines also for that particular segment. Now, we also introduced 2 weeks ago what we call sachet banking. So we are retailizing retail banking in the Philippines. Sachet banking simply means that we will now FMCG, or what we call the fast-moving consumer goods, at the level of mom-and-pop stores. This is where the individual Filipino could now open savings account at any sari-sari store or mom-and-pop store in the country, apply for a micro-insurance coverage, or even start with a micro-investment. So these are the things that we are trying to do in the Philippines, and we are trying to also have this replicated in other parts of the ASEAN region. Now, one of the things that we also did for the past year was also to become the trailblazer in terms of thought leadership. So we have actually released and published the first Inclusive Digital Finance report, and that was last September, which was launched at the premises of the Central Bank of the Philippines. And this was followed by another edition that was also released 2 weeks ago in front of the Philippine President, Rodrigo Duterte. In fact, we are just awaiting for a presidential proclamation declaring what we call Kasama Ka as a national movement for financial inclusion all throughout the Philippines. Next. So we also took note that 7 out of 10 families in the Philippines never had any savings account. So that's why the aim is for us to be able to provide the enabling regulation as well as enabling platform for each individual or for each Filipino to be able to access a savings account or to open a savings account for as low as 40 US cents. So just imagine there's no dormancy fee, there's no maintaining balance, and even banks are now being incentivized by the central bank that there will be no reserve requirements for them to go into this particular space. So we are not the one getting the businesses of the banks, but we are enabling all of these financial institutions for them to adopt digital transformation. Next. So one of the things that we also highlighted here is the fact that the problem on financial inclusion is not really monopolized by the poor. In fact, a lot of the middle-income Filipinos still do not have financial services. So that's why one of the studies, or one of the highlights of the study, is the fact that what we are trying to do here is to digitalize all transactions, may it be on payments, on insurance, on savings, on lending, or even on other, or even e-commerce for that matter. So this is just a typical mom-and-pop store in the Philippines. In fact, we have 1.2 million airtime retailers nationwide that will be used or utilized to make use to be converted into actual deposit-taking outlets or fulfillment touch points for these particular bank partners that we have. In fact, as I've said, we have over 100 or almost 100 partner bank and non-banks. Okay, so as I've said, the regulator has recently released a no-frills deposit, or what they call the basic deposit account, with no reserve requirements, no dormancy fee, no maintaining balance, and deposit as low as 40 US cents. Okay. So these are some of the products that we have. In fact, we are one of the very few, or if not the only, fintech company in Asia right now that has a complete suite of digital financial services that focuses on savings, lending, insurance, and investment, including payments. Because payments, for I think some of you here know about PayMaya, and the PayMaya is actually our affiliate company. Okay, so these are some of the examples of the Filipino consumers that never had any access to financial services. So for example, this particular guy who actually keeps his savings under his mattress, and that is actually one thing that we would want to address as well. Another one is a market vendor who never had any access to formal financial services and would be victims of predatory lenders or informal lenders. Next would be a jeepney driver who never had any experience at all of being covered by insurance. And in fact, this is the thing that we've been doing right now. In fact, the LGUs have actually adopted this particular movement for all of their constituents to now be covered by a basic insurance coverage. And of course, a millennial who never had any idea of how to invest. That's why part of the initiative is on how to accelerate financial education across all segments of the society. Okay, our vision is to help banks and non-banks to accelerate digital transformation, at the same time to optimize efficiencies, while expanding their reach to new-to-bank consumers. So this is the very essence of why we are in this particular space. And of course, as I've said, for the agricultural sector, we are the ones providing the digital agri lending right now. And in fact, this will now be spread across the country. And the aim is for us to be able to cover as much as 50% of the entire lending portfolio that will now be converted to digital. Because mind you, prior to the digitalization that we did in the agri sector, the interest rates were about 9% per month, okay? But right now, after we have provided the intervention, it's now down, sorry, it's 30% per month interest rate. It's now down to 9% per annum because of cost efficiencies brought about by digitalization. So these are some of the positive outcomes brought about by digitalization. And of course, the thing here is that 36% of LGUs in the Philippines still do not have bank branches. So hence, the only ideal way for us to be able to capture such particular reach is for us to make use of the mobile technology through fintech. And these are some of the examples that we have done so far. And because the Philippines does not have any national ID system in place, the idea that we are trying to create is to provide a foundational secured ID system where all of your transactions will now be unified, and with that, we will now be able to come up to develop what we call the aggregated credit scoring facility, so that every Filipino would now have a credit footprint, so that we will now be entitled to more affordable financial services, so veering away from predatory lenders. Okay. So again, the kasama ka is a Tagalog term or a Filipino term that means practically financial inclusion, that everybody is part of it, that everybody belongs, that no one is left behind. So this is an advocacy that is actually focused on digitalization, on digital transformation of every Filipino, and for the entire Philippines. In fact, the entire government functionary, including the private sector, have come together to make sure that this happens within the next 3 years. So by year 2020, we are very sure that we'll be able to achieve the 30 million Filipinos to be financially included. So thank you so much, and good afternoon to everyone.